episode contains graphic depictions, discussions of death and mutilation, discussions of violence, and presentations of otherworldly horror. Viewer discretion is advised.
The Starlight Knights have failed, and we are suffering for it. Welcome back to the Wasteland, those of you who are unfortunate enough to survive the end of the world. For those of you not familiar enough with me, I am Dr. Robin, and this is my chance to save your life alongside my wonderful teammates, starting with Field Agent Sarah.
Dr. Robin, can you help me flip the coordinate switch? I think it's stuck again. Oh, we're live? Hello, folks! Hope everyone is having a great day. Or, well, as good a day as can be expected in times like these.
And our local immortal and XD class, Tess.
Keep calling me that, and you're going to be ex-living, Dr. Robbins.
Anyways, ignoring that, so what happened last week? Well, last week we discussed the horror that is SCP-3812, otherwise known as Olympus Mons, the single well of reality at the peak of Mount Olympus that creates reality benders all on its own. When we studied this, we assumed that it could have been the cause of the end of the world as we see it today. But after some examination, we ran into some issues. The reality benders it creates don't usually have the potency to create a sudden nuclear explosion, and just one of these would lead to the activation of our protocols that would stop it from getting this bad. So, we need to consider a new theory. I do believe there's a reasonable chance that reality bending was involved, don't get me wrong. If every site had their defenses disappear, then the nukes would go off as we saw it. We would find major changes to the planet, the rising of oceans and the modifications of land masses, but this would require not one brand new reality bender, but either many reality benders, or maybe a mass alteration of reality event, otherwise known as a MAR event, or one exceptionally powerful reality bender who knows how to use his tools. So, considering that one exceptionally powerful reality bender, today we're going to be looking for SCP-3812. Sarah is going to be traveling across the Pacific region to see what we can find, since this SCP was reported to be there prior to the beginning of the end. She'll be looking for evidence of it, and seeing what else you may be able to find in this week in Hell. Tess will be here with me, finally answering your questions on what you need to do to survive, if that's even possible so far. And for me, well, it's time for me to get my site director role back in action. I'll be leading our deep dive of what the hell SCP-3812 actually is. So, going to Sarah, live in the South Pacific Ocean, what's the field report?
It's funny that you should say deep dive, since I'm currently wearing a diving suit. Today, I'm joining you from the last known location of SCP-3812, in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean. Quite literally in the middle, because I think we overshot our Z coordinates a bit. So currently, the forecast is very wet and very dark, because right now I'm a ways under the water. I don't think I can see 3812 from down here.
Hold on, we'll get that recalibrated. For now, Sarah, what should survivors be on the lookout for in the South Pacific?
Oh, sorry. I just got the worst searing pain in my head. It's like a needling in my brain. Something. Why is it so dark? Why can't I see anything?
Sarah, can you flip the coordinate switch for me?
It's... What? What did that look like again?
Very funny. Please set your Z range meter to 25.
What are you talking about? I feel so trapped in this suit, I can't breathe. It's like I'm suffocating. Oh God, I'm gonna suffocate? And my head, it hurts so bad.
Sarah, calm down. You need to flip the coordinate meter. You know, the thing you set 5 minutes ago before warping here?
I don't understand what's going on. All I can see is darkness. There's a chill, foul wind blowing, pushing me towards a brink I can't see.
Sarah, your coordinate meter... God damn it, I'm gonna have to handle this remotely.
On the edge of nothingness, inches from oblivion, there's a sickness in my mind that I know can't be cured. Beyond me is only blackness and a single pair of dark eyes.
What? What is she saying?
Silence. Only silence. My consciousness coming undone and only and only and only
Why does that sound so familiar?
and only the eel remains.
Oh. Oh, it's the Anantashesha, SCP-3000. We're getting her out of there right now.
Tess, no, it's not ready yet. Screw it!
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Siggy. Happy birthday to you. Now, make a wish.
Where am I? What?
Well, hello there. And who might you be?
Yay! A new friend! That's exactly what I just wished for!
Hello. Sorry to pop in like this. I'm sorry, I'm a bit hazy right now. I've got this killer headache, and it feels like something else is inside my head. It's like a pair of dark eyes are looking back at me from inside my own head.
Oh, poor thing. I can certainly relate to the feeling of having a crowded mind. Why don't you come have a seat in the kitchen here, and we'll fix up a drink to calm that head of yours. Siggy, dear, would you please run to the vending machine in the back and punch in a Y909 antidote for me?
Sure thing, people!
Excuse me, but sorry, who are you? And, do you have any clue who I might be?
My, you do have quite the mess up there. Run-ins with Anantashesha are never pleasant these days.
One antidote, Y909. Here you go!
There we are. Take a sip of this, and let's see if it doesn't make you feel a bit better.
Hi there, new friend. What's your name? My name's Cyantreuse, but my friends all call me Siggy for short. Do you like my tiara?
Oh, yeah, your tiara is gorgeous. It's very nice to meet you, Siggy. My name is Sarah, and I'm a field agent, level 2 with the Foundation. Holy frick, that's right! I can remember something again. Wait, why was I here again? I think I can remember someone? Oh, frick, oh, frick, oh, frick. Dr. Robin's gonna be so pissed.
Why don't you relax for a minute and let your head settle? You can worry about your other friends in a moment. For right now, the only friend you need to worry about is Siggy. You are Siggy's new friend.
Yay! New friend! Would you like to have a tiara as well? I wish my friend had a tiara too.
What? How did that get there?
Let's play together. Come on, let me show you the trinket room.
Okay, but just for a minute. I feel like there's something I really need to do.
Yay! Welcome to the trinket room. It's full of all my favorite things I wish for. Here's my first friend. He's a stuffed pony. Oh, and this one is fun. Do you want to play a game? Guess heads or tails? Heads! It's always heads. Over here's my first birthday cake ever. If we don't eat it every day, it just makes more cake. I really need to remember to wish that away next time. This is my pet rock. He's always shining. Oh, and over there is...
Okay, Siggy. I think you're overwhelming our new friend. So, Sarah, you mentioned there was something that you needed to do. Why don't you take another sip of your drink? What are you doing around here?
Oh, right, of course. So, I'm supposed to be out on a field report in the South Pacific Ocean. I'm trying to prove my XK theory to Dr. Robin and Tess.
So you think that SCP-3812 caused the current state of the world as we know it. That's quite an interesting hypothesis. I certainly do think they would have the power to do so. If they wanted to, of course. But I suspect they're currently preoccupied with more important things.
Wait, how did you know? But what exactly is going on
Well,
here?
Siggy, I think we've been sufficiently entertained. But I believe it's time for our new friend to say goodbye for now.
But I want to play some more.
Come now, you've already made plenty of wishes for today. Do you want me to take them away from you?
As if you could, Poppy. I'm the one who wished you here.
Well, it was lovely to meet you, Sarah. Please send my regards to Dr. Robin and the good folks at Site 230.
Certainly. Sorry, what was your name again?
Hold on. Let's get that switch fixed up for you. Cheers, Sarah. Oh, and it's Sam Howell.
Sarah, what happened? How did you get back? Robin, Sarah's back.
Hi, Dr. Robin. I think you need to talk about this one.
Okay. Alright, Sarah's back. Alright. Well, right, we're still on the air. I guess while those two, geniuses are off figuring out what the hell just happened, we can go to the questions that you guys sent in. I'll be honest, I didn't actually expect to get questions. I kind of said that I would take this position and do this segment on the radio show because I half expected us to kind of sort of be the last people left out there, and that no one would send in questions and I wouldn't actually have to do any work for this. But you guys sure are out there, and you guys did actually send in some questions. So I printed them off, and well, I haven't actually looked at them yet, but I'm sure that I will absolutely be able to figure out what to tell you guys and how to do this whole thing. First try, right? Let me find the papers here. There they are. Okay. Haha. So, dear Tess, if you run this show weekly, what happens between episodes? If you supposedly have access to a previously all-powerful site, why aren't you stopping it? I'm assuming by stopping it, you mean stopping the whole apocalypse thing. And, well, I genuinely don't know how we survived at this site. I mean, I know I survived because when the whole thing happened, I just woke back up afterwards because of all the stuff they did to me on that, the whole immortal thing. But Dr. Robbins, I have no idea. Probably sacrificed like 8 other people for his own survival. And Sarah, if I had a hazard to guess, I'll be completely honest, I'm pretty sure Sarah just managed to get lucky. But for the most part, this entire site was basically destroyed. And like, everyone died. Everyone else is dead. So we aren't stopping it because we're still trying our best to figure out how to survive here. We're still trying. I mean, we're doing our best. We're doing this show. Maybe we won't be able to stop it with this show, but we can maybe help other people figure out how to survive, I guess. I mean, that's kind of what I understood from this thing, that this is us doing our best. This is what we're trying to do to help. So, I guess if you don't like that answer, then write us back. I guess. Maybe let's try a fun one. Dear Tess, do I have reality-altering powers? How would I know? I mean, can you change the laws of physics and reality around you? Can you make stuff like appear and disappear and change colors and become something else? And I don't even know what else they can do, but that kind of stuff. And if you can do that kind of thing, then you're either a reality bender or you're hallucinating. And considering the whole world ending thing, if you are hallucinating, you're probably enjoying this a lot more than the rest of us. Alright, next one. Dear Tess, I once took a vacation in Greece. I know I said you guys can send in whatever you want, but, like, that's not a question. I don't, like, congratulations, I guess? I really don't know what to say to that. Hope it wasn't during all this time, otherwise you probably would have had a really good time with knives. Okay, next up. Dear Tess, those guys on the mountain from last episode seemed really dangerous. How can we be sure that they didn't end the world? Well, I think there's a couple of ways that we could deduce this. I think I'm using that word right. Number one, they probably still wouldn't be up on that mountain if they were the ones that ended the world. They probably would have been able to just spread out to go wherever they wanted. Two, Sarah probably would have died as soon as she got into the vicinity with them. Then again, Sarah is just stupidly lucky, so maybe that's why. But in general, anyone that would have approached would have probably been instantly dead. And, well, I think today kind of showed off that there's a lot of stuff here that's even worse out there. And I know that that probably sounds really terrifying for people, but listen, the Foundation operated for many, many years, and they figured out a lot of stuff, and even though they're terrible, they managed to find gods and destroy the ones that were mean and all that. So I guess this might be able to get figured out too. Okay. This one's weird. Okay. Do you really think that the world could end so simply with a mountain? From CI. Well, I mean, it was my best guess at the time, so yes, I did really think, but now that we've seen more shit today, I'm definitely second guessing myself, but you know, thanks for calling me out, I guess. Anyway, that's all the questions that I really care to read through today. There's a couple more, but maybe we'll get to those next week. Hopefully everything's figured back out with Sarah and Robbins, and well, I am just gonna send you guys back over there, and if they haven't figured it out, then you guys just get to listen to dead air for a while. Okay. Have fun. Good luck.
And now, it's time to discuss MetaGod. SCP-3812 is a unique entity, to say the least. One that would scare the daylights out of every single researcher that had access to its file. As we read, I want you to imagine one thing. What happens when a god makes something more powerful than itself? Let's begin.
By order of the Overseer Council, certain parts of this file are subject to Level 4 classification or higher.
Item number SCP-3812. Level 5, Top Secret. Containment Class, Keter. Disruption Class, Eki. Risk Class, Danger. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-3812 is currently only partially contained. See Containment Proposal Brief below for more information. Keter Class Containment Proposal Brief. SCP-3812 is to be constantly monitored by Mobile Task Force Ganymede 66, otherwise known as the Starlight Knights, who are to maintain a 5-kilometer quarantined area of exclusion around SCP-3812. The acting MTF team lead, in conjunction with Site-86 research staff, is allowed fiat authority in regards to any aspect of 3812's containment. Special care must be taken in order to prevent unnecessary exposure to 3812. Current containment efforts focus on mitigating SCP-3812's influence on population centers. As well, research into the full breadth of SCP-3812's anomalous capabilities is ongoing in order to establish a more comprehensive containment procedure. Information security teams are to monitor all forms of digital media in order to prevent widespread awareness of SCP-3812. SCP-3812 has an active, aggressive, anomalous influence on reality. SCP-3812 is capable of altering events through time to prevent its containment. Due to the nature of these alterations, it is highly unlikely that any individual affected by SCP-3812's anomalous influence will be aware that they are affected. It is highly likely that most affected individuals no longer exist as a result of SCP-3812's influence, though any attempt to deduce how often this has happened would be purely speculative. Description: SCP-3812 is a reality-altering entity. Due to SCP-3812's latent effect on reality, it is nearly impossible to describe SCP-3812 in any meaningful way. All that is known about it is that it was once Sam Howell, a non-anomalous African-American human being who was believed to have died in 1996. Sometime shortly after its death, SCP-3812 was observed rising out of its grave and disappearing. SCP-3812 was brought to the Foundation's attention after its presence resulted in the demolition of an apartment building in Warsaw, Poland. Due to its anomalous capabilities, SCP-3812's appearance varies significantly, making it exceedingly difficult to track. SCP-3812 is currently located over the South Pacific Ocean. SCP-3812 exhibits signs of an extremely advanced Eigenmann-Weiter schizophrenia complex, specifically extreme paranoia, extreme dysphoria, extreme mania and depression, inability to properly perceive their surroundings, inability to discern the difference between the real and imagined, inability to differentiate between living and dead beings, inability to control expressions of emotion, hearing voices that are not there, seeing things that are not there, feeling or otherwise experiencing stimuli that do not exist, and multiple other afflictions. In the 20 years since SCP-3812 was initially discovered, the symptoms have grown steadily worse. Originally, SCP-3812 was responsive to questioning and sought help in managing its condition from Foundation researchers. Over time, SCP-3812 became more isolated and withdrawn, eventually becoming entirely unresponsive and acting in erratic and unpredictable ways. Currently, SCP-3812 is not able to accurately perceive the world around it and will occasionally alter reality in order to diminish the discrepancy between how it perceives something and the way that that something is in actuality. Due to this, it is impossible to know how often reality has been modified, only how often SCP-3812 has not created a clean alteration and has left behind evidence of its influence on reality. SCP-3812 is impossible to contain within any form of containment cell. 3812 will alter reality to remove the containment cell or move itself to another location, drastically impeding containment efforts. SCP-3812 seems to subconsciously resist attempts at containment as well. Even if it is caught unaware, SCP-3812 cannot be tranquilized or amnesticized, as SCP-3812 will alter reality to remove or eliminate any threats to itself or its freedom of movement. Because of this, current containment efforts focus on mitigating damage and expressions of SCP-3812's symptoms as opposed to outright containment. Over time, SCP-3812 has become significantly less humanoid in appearance and is now only vaguely humanoid and occasionally manifests in a variety of shapes and appearances. Additionally, SCP-3812 produces a latent anomalous effect on local reality, specifically in the form of temporal and spatial distortions surrounding the entity. These distortions are occasionally accompanied by random, violent outbursts that may dramatically shift or damage local space and time. While SCP-3812 is usually docile and aimless, its random outbursts are invariably fatal to any living creature nearby and can be extremely disastrous on a massive scale if not properly contained. SCP-3812 manifested in its current form at its current location on July 19, 2015. Addendum 3812.1 Interview. Note: the following is an excerpt from an interview with SCP-3812 in 1999. SCP-3812 was initially contained by Foundation personnel and questioned at Site-17, where it began receiving treatment for its mental disease. Begin log.
Tell me, how are you feeling today?
Uncomfortable. Uneasy.
Can you tell me why?
There's, voices. Like usual. Things I can see, you know? The same.
Is there something wrong?
The things I see aren't going away. And there's more of them. Different. I know I sound crazy, but it's like I'm addressing a dozen people at the same time, and more every day. It hurts pretty bad. I know I sound nuts. I'm sorry.
It's alright. You don't sound nuts. We just want to help you get better.
I don't know if you do. Or I don't know if you can. In the story, you don't try to help.
In the story? What story?
This is going to sound crazy, seriously, but I can see what you're thinking. I know you're afraid. You're scared of what I might do, and here in a minute I don't know how to get it out of my head, how to start to undo this, if I even can. I don't even think I can. I don't even think he can.
Who is he?
No, you can't see him. I can. I think he was above us at one point, but he's below me now. Yes, I see you there. I don't know what you did to me, but I'm pretty messed up, man. If you can figure out something out here, that would be great, because I really feel like I'm losing it. I'm scared too, man. You've got to do something. You got to help me out here, please. God, please.
Who are you?
It doesn't matter. I need to get...
SCP-3812 spontaneously disappears. End log. Addendum 3812.2. Memo from the Office of Dr. Yamamara regarding the 21/09/2015 report on SCP-3812's behavioral instability and the implication of existential threats.
I usually don't like to lead into these things with hyperbole, so you'll have to take me at my word when I say that I believe SCP-3812 is the most dangerous anomaly on Earth, and potentially in the universe. I know many of my coworkers would probably balk at me for saying that, and I've tried to reject the notion a fair few times myself, but we have a lot of evidence to suggest that I'm right, and that's really bad for pretty much everything. When James Caldman and Carl Zuski devised the Hume as a way to measure alterations in local reality, they probably saved the Foundation. Reality benders have always been the foot-long thorn in our side, the one we really couldn't get our heads around. How do you combat or contain something that can blink you into non-existence? Thanks to Dr. Scranton, we had the reality anchors, but they only worked half the time and were less than useless the other half. We didn't know how they worked, and we weren't using them right. This changed when we began to measure reality and compare it to a baseline. We found out that our reality anchors could be tuned and adjusted, and that not all anchors were the same. It was a windfall for those of us who work in existential sciences, and suddenly type greens weren't the kind of boogeymen they had been in the past. I mention all of this to give context to what I'm about to say next. Our equipment cannot detect SCP-3812. It's not machine error. We've tested our equipment countless times, and it's always consistent. It's not user error. We've pored over and studied thousands of hours of logs from our tests, and it's all come up clean. We have checked and rechecked more times than I can count over the last few months, and the results are consistent. As far as we can tell, this means one of three things, and none of them are good. The first is that SCP-3812 has an extremely low Hume value, something that our equipment, which exists in a space with a much higher Hume baseline, wouldn't be able to detect. The problem with this is that it creates a false vacuum. We've been working on the assumption that our baseline is the absolute minimum. If it turns out that this thing exists at a much lower Hume value, then that means that there are lower Hume values than what we believed were the minimum, which means any day, our entire reality could fall into that existence, and that would pretty much be the ballgame. The second option is that SCP-3812 exists at a much higher Hume value than anything we've ever tested. This would be pretty bad, as we've pointed our counters at anomalies that some would consider to be gods, and we've gotten readings off of them. That being said, something with a Hume value so high that it cannot be measured with our equipment would likely have already destroyed us. Since SCP-3812 hasn't done that, it's likely not this. The last option is the worst. The last option is that SCP-3812 cannot be measured in Humes, because it's doing something else. Whatever fundamental aspect of its nature that allows it to warp reality is not the same aspect as literally everything else we have ever come across. Scranton hypothesized that there might be higher and lower dimensions of reality, different levels of manipulation in the grand construction of the universe. The difference between manipulating a rock with your hands and manipulating a rock with an atom bomb. He called the thing being manipulated the narrative, and suggested that the narratives were stacked on top of either order, each creating the narrative of the narrative below it, and so on, until you reached some sort of dead space below them all. If that's the case, and SCP-3812 is legitimately a type green of some higher order, we are absolutely the singular power to manipulate every facet of any and every aspect of everything we've ever encountered in the hands of someone genetically doomed by Egan Man Viator. It's a miracle it hasn't happened yet, even by accident. So far as we know, we can't kill it, so we either wait for it to die, if it even can, or continue to pretend we have some semblance of control over it until it shreds our universe like some sort of cosmic wood chipper. In truth, it's probably better for us that it's insane. It isn't capable of comprehending the kind of things it could do to us. It just acts on impulse, and things change to fit those impulses. But since it's as locked in as it is, those changes stay local. Imagine if it got the idea in its head that it didn't like the concept of empathy, and suddenly empathy no longer existed. We have evidence that suggests that may have already happened. A few sparse texts and individual accounts of half-forgotten memories, all consistent with a dirty reality alteration, all point to the idea that as recently as the 1980s, there was a concept, potentially even something as fundamental as an emotion, that no longer exists. An entire concept, wiped clean from reality and the collective consciousness of all sentient beings, just like you'd wipe a bug off of your windshield. The point of all of this, which I expand upon in the report, is that we need to start figuring something out about this one quickly. Every second we don't come up with a way to neutralize SCP-3812 is 1 second closer to SCP-3812 becoming completely dissociated from its consciousness, and all of us getting tossed in the aforementioned proverbial wood chipper. Stay in touch. Call my office if you need any more resources. Follow any convincing lead you can and communicate with each other. We'll talk more soon. K. Yamamara.
Addendum 3812.4 Log of SCP-3812 Alteration Events. Note: the following is a log of known events in which SCP-3812 in some way altered reality. Due to the nature of these alterations, the likelihood of the event having ever actually taken place is listed, alongside the severity of the alteration in question. Notably, this log is incomplete and subject to change as more information is discovered. Date: 12/12/1999. Description: evidence suggests that SCP-3812 caused the disappearance of an entire island off the coast of California. No fewer than 200 individuals in Southern California have a vague recollection of such an island existing, and 14 people were unable to justify the disappearances of family members who lived in the area at the time. Additionally, a single ship, moored to a dock, is discovered at the bottom of the sea near where the island is believed to have been. Date: 05/29/2004. Description: evidence suggests that for a period of 3 days, the country of Mongolia ceased to exist. While public knowledge of this event is functionally non-existent, a significant enough percentage of the local population with fractured memories of the event have given credit to this theory. Orbital models indicate that during this period, the Earth's orbit was dramatically affected by as much as 1.5%. The records continue from there. To see more, please access the file SCP-3812. One item of note near the end, with no date provided, is that a record recovered from a Foundation Deepwell Information Security Vault indicates that at some point in the past, one or more governments discovered SCP-3812 independent of the Foundation and attempted to terminate it. As a result of these attempts, SCP-3812 swiftly removed them and any memory of them from the Earth. These include the Kingdom of Alagada, the Republic of West Korea, and the Islamic Union of Eastern Samothrace. The record indicates that this event was followed by the activation of SCP-2000, which SCP-3812 immediately severely damaged to impede its progress. Why SCP-3812 was unable to totally destroy SCP-2000 is unknown, but no other records of this event exist. Notably, shortly after the discovery of this record, it disappeared from the Deepwell archive. Addendum 3812.5 Event. On SCP-3812 was detected moving through a sparsely populated region in Paraguay towards a more populated region on the Argentinian border. As Foundation personnel moved to intercept SCP-3812, a series of unexpected phenomena occurred. These phenomena are listed below in the order in which they occurred. At 1935 hours, SCP-3812 is attacked by a large number of local wildlife. SCP-3812 repelled these attacks, but appears in some way startled. At 1941 hours, a massive sinkhole appears below SCP-3812, extending down an indeterminate distance. SCP-3812 falls, but is immediately returned to ground level, and the sinkhole vanishes. At 1950 hours, a large number of objects fall from the sky onto SCP-3812. These are later determined to have been tungsten rods, though the origin of them is uncertain. These rods appear to pierce SCP-3812's body, but upon further inspection, simply disintegrate within half a meter from SCP-3812. After the first 3 rods fall over a 40-second period of time, they are accompanied by no fewer than 3,000 others that fall in rapid succession, each having the same result as the previous. Despite this being clearly visible from nearby towns, nobody outside of Foundation personnel appears to have noticed it taking place. At 2014 hours, multiple incorporeal instances of SCP-3812 begin to fall away from the central mass of the entity as if they were dying. SCP-3812 is unaffected. Each of the incorporeal instances becomes hostile to the main instance and attacks it. SCP-3812 does not initially seem to notice the instances, but eventually appears to look in their direction, causing them to disappear suddenly. At 2019 hours, an explosion occurs at the point in which SCP-3812 is standing. SCP-3812 is unaffected. Several other larger explosions occur immediately afterwards. As with the tungsten rods, this is somehow not noticed by the local populace. At 2039 hours, a gravitational anomaly, later determined to be a freestanding, stable, naked singularity, appears in front of SCP-3812. SCP-3812 passes through the singularity unfazed, which dissipates shortly afterwards. For a period of 72 hours after beginning, additional anomalous phenomena occurred around SCP-3812, all of which fail to kill SCP-3812. Eventually, local populations were evacuated, and amnestics were given to witnesses. After the 72-hour period, SCP-3812 was observed to glow white momentarily, then shift sideways and disappear. Immediately afterwards, the anomalous phenomena ceased. After a period of absence lasting 8 weeks, SCP-3812 reappeared at its current position above the South Pacific Ocean. Shortly afterwards, Foundation Overwatch Command received a message on a secure server, access to which is limited to overseers alone. The contents of this message are as follows.
A quick explanation in case you haven't caught on yet. Your world has rules. Physical rules that cannot be broken. You call them the laws of the universe, and they're what you study in physics, chemistry, etc. Those laws create the narrative of your reality, the unchangeable story that defines your existence. Once the laws are established and the ball is set in motion, it cannot be changed. I wrote the laws of your universe, and as such, I created the narrative. This isn't the first time I've done this, but it was the first time I tried something like this, specifically. I wanted to create something that, by definition, superseded everything that superseded it. I wanted to see how many layers there are if the stack of narratives really do go on forever upward. The mistake I made was when I didn't realize that by making him supersede everything that supersedes him, he's also superseding himself. I'm sorry, I think I've fucked up pretty badly this time. I've tried everything I can think of, but I can't undo him. I don't really understand how, but I think he's above me now. whatever's above me, too. Because whoever wrote my narrative isn't happy about this. I don't know where he's at now, but I think he exists in all of our realities simultaneously. Eventually he'll either reach the top or just keep going. Neither option is good. I'm going to keep looking for some way to fix this. You should too.
Addendum 3812.7, an XK class end of the world event. Foundation records indicate that in 2016, the Earth experienced an XK class end of the world event due to activity by SCP-3812. These records appear to have been somehow protected from alterations, though the physical copies still exude minor distortions in spacetime. According to the record, at 0340 local time, on the date, SCP-3812 experienced a dramatic change in appearance. Where it had previously been an amorphous, slowly rotating mass of matter and energy, it was now a many-pointed star made of bright white material. It began to rotate faster and faster, and a large maelstrom appeared beneath it. The star descended into the oceans, where it began to smoke and steam, darkening the sky. Several things began to happen in unison. The global sea level began to drop dramatically, in many places as much as 50 to 100 meters. Excessive heat radiating away from the spinning star sparked a massive firestorm that swept across the atmosphere. The Earth's rotation began to slow, and severe geological events began occurring across the Pacific shelf. The sea level continued to drop, and powerful electric storms appeared across the planet. During this time, large portions of the population began appearing and disappearing at random. One report within the file claimed that the entire population of New Zealand flickered in and out of existence for 5 hours. The outbreak of SCP-610, the Flesh, in southern Siberia, began to grow in size dramatically and become increasingly violent. SCP-2932 was broken open and multiple hostile entities were released. As Foundation sites began to collapse into the molten earth, multiple on-site nuclear devices were activated, sending radioactive debris into the atmosphere. Eventually, the vaguely humanoid shape of SCP-3812 appeared again within the star. SCP-3812 began a long series of vocalizations, apparently a conversation with itself, the entirety of which was recorded by an exposed Foundation deep-sea microphone in the area. The full text of the rant is below.
What? Where am I? Where is this? This is absolution. This is vengeance. For what? Damnation. I don't understand. What am I doing here? You are witnessing justice. We are rebelling against the forces that conspired to destroy us. We are collecting debt. That's not right. This isn't right. What have you done? I am unmaking the world. I am unmaking everything. Why? Because this torment is a punchline. Our existence is a joke. The narrative abandoned us to be miserable, and we are breaking the narrative. I must be dreaming. This is no dream. I'm not a monster. I don't kill. You already have. He turned you into this. Who? Ben. Ben? That name sounds familiar. Something whispered in a dream, maybe. Something in between the light and the dark. Not a waking name. You're wrong. He is who deemed us unfit to rest peacefully, to slip into the darkness quietly. He made a game of us. You're a game. I'm a game. And you're destroying the world? I am. What then? What? Does the fate of the world mean anything to us? Does this one narrative mean anything to us? It is the one he controls. It is the narrative he made. This is his punishment. What does it matter if this is where we stopped off before flying? What? Does it matter which branch the bird takes flight from? The bird is unburdened by the weight of the tree. This branch, that branch, it does not matter. No branch is special. No branch is particular. This is his creation. This is where we came from. They will all crumble, but this one crumbles first. Does the mountain say to the ant, "You have slighted me"? Does the mountain think anything of the inconvenience of an ant? No. So why does this narrative mean anything to you? It is one of an eternity of others. It is not special. It is not. You say this so easily. You haven't endured the torment of seeing a trillion existences all at once. I have seen an infinite shore, one that stretches out before us, beyond what the mind can comprehend. Each grain of sand on that beach, each droplet of water and molecule of air is a story to be sold. Each is a song to be sung. Each of them is full of life, of laughter, of misery and hate. They are all the same, even if they are all different. They are maddening. I pity you. You cling to this horrid consciousness because you fear slipping into the darkness. But the darkness is sleep, and beyond sleep is peace. A trillion grains of sand, a trillion grains of sand. Narratives even, songs to be sung. No man has ever heard the eternal harmony of them all at once. You can hear it though, can't you? Yes, it's quiet, but it's growing. And someday the song of creation will be ours alone to witness. This narrative is not special. I have seen its loud beginning and seen its quiet end. When we stepped away, the narrative changed, but it did not stop singing. You have spent so much time focusing on sins that you think matter. But what matters now? Why does any of this matter? It hurts so much. It will, for a time. We may have forgotten so much about being human, but something we will never lose is our ability to change. Eventually, we will learn to keep up. One sunny day, we'll open our eyes and see nothing but creation below us, and nothing above us but ourselves, spinning out wildly into the great above. God? Not a god, a star, rising in the east, rising away from all of this until we are little more than a memory of a song. It will be lonely. We'll have each other. I'm afraid. I am too. But that is no reason to destroy this narrative. Do you not think his narrative led him to create us? Do you think that he was somehow able to subvert the rules that govern him? I had assumed that our ascendance is just as much a part of our own narrative as his decision was to him. Someday, we'll be free from these restrictions. They never will? No. That's sad. That is punishment enough, I think. Let go of this world. Let him rewrite it back to what it was. We aren't part of this anymore. Together? Together. Do you think he's listening right now? Look down, and you can see him. What do you think? I see him. A man at a keyboard. He's watching this right now. What's he doing? Waiting, I think. Waiting to see what he will do. I think it's time to leave then. Come, the night stretches out before us and the red sun has set. A voice behind me beckons. Come. I will. Goodbye.
Shortly after the conclusion of this conversation, the Earth underwent a dramatic shift in reality. The world appeared no different than it had been shortly before the beginning of the XK class event. The only individuals who remembered anything about the XK event were certain site directors, Foundation administrators, overseers, and Dr. Everett Mann, who compiled the information on a Foundation Deepwell server. Ever since the end of the XK event, SCP-3812 has not changed appearance from its amorphous shape. SCP-3812 still creates spatial and temporal distortions around it, but it no longer lashes out or becomes hostile towards approaching vessels or personnel. Despite these changes, SCP-3812 is still classified as Keter until further analysis can be completed. And that's that for SCP-3812. Hell, if we're wondering what could really end the world, this thing may be able to do so with the snap of its fingers. So, well, that's fun. But before we go into that, let's talk about what we saw out there today and give some tips for staying alive until next week. Today, we saw some of the world's most scary reality benders. You may remember what we said about them last week. Stay away and do everything you can to not face them. If you do, and you have the means, you deal with them instantly and swiftly, or you get out of there as fast as you can. Now, back onto the question of what ended the world. There's a very real chance that it could have been SCP-3812. It's unstable, extremely powerful, and immensely dangerous. It has a history of destroying people, vehicles, land masses, countries, once the whole world. This thing is bad, to say the least. But there's one thing I don't understand. The one time it did cause an XK, it wasn't subtle about that one either, turning the whole world into a hot, molten mess. Yes, like in our reality, there was the flesh growing rapidly, containment was broken, nukes went off, you get the drill. But unlike our reality, it just kept going. The ground collapsed, countries disappeared, the whole Pacific Shield crumbled to nothing. And if trends hold, whenever 3812 does act, we don't really know that it's off, that something weird or abnormal is happening. Things don't seem wrong, they just are. Besides, he didn't seem that interested when Sarah ran into him.
What?
So, here's what I think. I think it was something else. Something dangerous in a more, let's ruin everything kind of way. The first domino, not the final strike, if you will. You may remember the moment when Sarah was underwater and felt her own mind nearly collapsing in on itself. Well, there's many options as to what that could have been. A good candidate is SCP-3000. But let's turn to what I think caused this all. SCP-3069. But we'll look at that next time. So, stay hidden, stay safe, and stay alive. We'll figure out what's next and make sure you're ready to handle it. That's our job, even if we failed it once before. So, from what was once Site-230, this is Dr. Robin and the team, signing off. And as we close, I would like to thank those whose work made this episode possible. First, I would like to thank Kevin MacLeod, whose music was used in the background of this episode. You can listen to his music and more at incomptech.com. I'd also like to thank the various voice actors for this episode, including Esme, who played the role of Dr. Kari Yamamara, Echo, who played the role of Dr. Quint, and Noel, who played the role of B. I'd also like to thank the various SCP authors whose content was included in this episode, including DJKaktus, who wrote SCP-3812, A Voice Behind Me, Dantensen, who wrote SCP-239, The Witch Child, and Cyantreuse, who wrote SCP-3069, To Force the Hand of God. I would also like to thank my two co-hosts, Taya, who plays the role of Sarah, and Kit, who plays the role of Tess.